I had the good fortune of traveling in many parts of the world. The ones I always liked best were those where there are what we call tribal families living in harmony with nature. Ecological prudence is part of their culture. Take, for example, Wayanad, Kuttanad, many of these areas. You have communities which have nurtured their own culture over a long period of time. I find those places are there everywhere in the world. In the wilderness of British Guyana, when I was developing the Ivokrama rainforest program, I've gone to the interior and lived with the Amerindian population there. They have their own song, they're happy, they don't have much money. But I learned that money and happiness are not synonymous events. You go to Odisha, the Chilka Lake is a beautiful lake, but it is in ecological distress. Similarly, Kuttanad, Vembanad Kyle, although water tourism and some people not observing an ecological code, they pollute the water, they don't care for others. And so what is becoming important is to promote more ecological literacy in the world and a love of nature, love of harmony from school children onwards when they are taken out on excursions, beautiful places. Then they learn what nature, what blessed they are. And Gandhiji is saying, nature provides everyone needs, but not for everyone's greed. How to curb the greed and how to meet the needs is the major problem. From the commercial point of view, the best tourism will be the French Riviera, where more than 40% of the world's tourists go. Hawaii, Goa. Then you'll have to go to the forests, parts of the Himalayan region, which are not still spoiled. They are good. Part of eastern India, Nagaland, Mokokchung and so on. They are still unspoiled, although shifting cultivation is spoiling the place. I have lived in a number of very interesting, beautiful places, and the one I like because of my childhood, I think, is the Vembanad region of Kerala, which has now been declared as a globally important agricultural heritage site. My memories of beautiful places are usually the hill stations. My father took me to Kodaikanal. Now it is highly tourism. The lake itself was a beautiful place. The birds around the lake quite used to fascinate me, whether it is tiger sanctuary or lion sanctuary or bird sanctuary. The sanctuaries where you found the beauty of creation always fascinated me in my childhood. That is why I decided to go into biology. In fact, once I went to Gulf of Mannar as part of a student excursion, and the Krusadi Island in Gulf of Mannar. Professor Panikar was a great authority on marine biology and showed us such a variety of crustaceans. He called it a paradise of crustaceans. Again, today it's a paradise lost. In nature, what I have always liked is the diversity, biological diversity as we call them, the enormous variability. I used to collect butterflies, and nature is characterized by diversity, and diversity is the strength of nature. And whether it is animal life, even human being, we are now over 6 billion people in the world. Barring identical twins, almost everybody is different, and so on, even within a family. Variety is the spice of life, we call it. Biological diversity has always interested me. In this garden where we are sitting, the 5 ecosystems, the hill zone, the coastal zone, the arid zone, the semi-arid zone, and the wet zone. Over 2,000 years ago, the poets who wrote this provide for what is called in Tamil palai or desert. But they said man will create the palai, and it so happens now. So we are providing for the desert. They talk about the enormous variety of medicinal plants, enormous variety of crop plants, and how we have shrunk. We are now using only wheat, rice, maize, 3 or 4 plants. In the past, several hundred plants were used as food, as for medicine and so on. So you learn a lot by observing nature, by being one with it. Yeah, my outlook certainly was influenced by the home environment, the social environment, the political environment, and natural environment. All these environments interact with each other in shaping our life. But interaction with nature and natural resources certainly has heightened my awareness of the need for conservation. It is called sustainable development, that you do not do damage to your capital. Always live on the interest rather than the capital. Nature's capital, called the web of life. If you disturb one part, the others are also disturbed. My whole life's ambition has been to convert hot spots into happy spots. How do you convert hot spots into happy spots? It makes you grow wiser and also be careful in dealing with nature and natural resources. The difference is very obvious. The population pressure even when we got independence in 1947, we had 300 million people. Today it is 1.2 billion or 4 times more. Population pressure has increased. The need for more jobs, the more income, more development. Forests have been cut down for hydroelectric projects. Even the Silent Valley forest, one of the most beautiful forests in the world, rainforest, was endangered by an ill-conceived electricity project. So between what you call development and conservation, gradually there has been a conflict, which is not necessary. We are not realizing the gravity of the situation. With the greed revolution has overtaken the green revolution. Now groundwater has gone down so deep that arsenic and other heavy metals are coming up. So we are now reaping the consequences of not caring for nature. So-called development or economic development and ecological security should not be in conflict. They should be mutually reinforcing. The ecological security of an area and the livelihood security of the people must not become antagonistic. Our future lies in environmentally sustainable development, harmony with nature and harmony with each other. The culture of living with nature must become the basic human culture. The place where I am living, that is Chennai, there are 2 or 3 major problems. Water is a major problem. So many tankers are going around distributing water. Fortunately, although it is near the coast, there is still some fresh water. The way in which we are exploiting it, most unsustainable. The other is the problems of mosquitoes, malaria, mosquitoes, and the problems associated with the poor environmental management. We should be much more conscious of the fact that our future depends upon the sustainable management of land, water, biodiversity, and climate. Well, I have seen, unfortunately, very many environmentally polluted places. Wherever I go, look at a forest area, beautiful pine trees being cut. So the killing of animals, the killing of plants, and the killing of ecosystems for greed revolution. And unfortunately, the greed revolution is fostered not by poor people who are struggling for their day-to-day life. The greed of the rich must be curbed, the needs of the poor must be met. Then we will find every hot spot to become a happy spot. Live in harmony with nature, take what it gives, and give it back whatever you can. In other words, if you take from soil 5 tons of wheat or rice or some other crop, give back to the soil the nutrition you have taken out of the soil. So the one must be living in harmony with natural resources. If you harm nature, you are harming yourself, your family, and your country.